So, I just want to put this here before the video, mostly because I wanted to update you why this wasn't a video last week. And if you're watching this in the future, sorry, but I just wanted to put this here right now. So, the main reason why I didn't post a video last week was because I got into a car accident with a semi. So, comparison-wise, this is the guy's semi, and then this is my car. I didn't die. So that's crazy. Yeah. Just wanted to put that there to make people understand why I didn't have a video last week, in case you were wondering. If you weren't wondering, well, now you know. So, hopefully you enjoy the rest of this video about me talking about Goblin Slayer. Bye. Hi. I don't know what I was going to say, but this is going to be a video of me talking about one of my many series that I've collected. A manga talk, if you will. And it's been a bit since I've done one of these, but I feel like this is one of the ones that I haven't really talked about as much as I would like, but it's one of those ones that most people have heard about, mostly because of the first episode of the anime, and that sort of turns a lot of people off of it. But I don't think that it is necessarily a bad thing of what it did. So, just saying that outright, that it may turn you off if you don't get past the first couple of chapters. But if you do, you will find a very, very interesting story. And let's just get into what I'm talking about, and that is Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer is one of those series that I randomly picked up one day. It was quite literally before the hype or the craziness of the anime came out. I just saw this and thought, fuck it. Let's see what it's about. And yes, the first volume or so is pretty dark, but from there you get more and more world building and more interesting takes on the world itself. But let's just get into the points of it, and then we'll talk more about why I love it. So, Goblin Slayer as a whole is not a very complex story. Quite literally, it's a very simple story. It's about goblins and the slaying of them. Specifically, one man who woke up and chose violence. Specifically, the violence of killing all the goblins in the world, which you're just like, well, it can't be that bad. I played D&D, I played Pathfinder, they're not that bad in that game. In the world of Goblin Slayer, they're horrible monsters. And that is one of the reasons why it is imperative that the first section, the first volume, the first couple of chapters show you how different goblins are in the world of Goblin Slayer. They are fucking terrible. They are like pests, like a cockroach that keeps on popping up. They are the worst of the worst, and it is one of those situations in which you're just like, oh, okay, now I understand why we don't like the goblins. And that is I wouldn't say beauty of the first couple of chapters, but the point of the first couple of chapters. It is necessarily poignant to show how fucked up the goblins are and how terrible they are. That you don't feel bad, that Goblin Slayer is just killing all of them. And you're probably being like, okay, so what's the story? He wants to kill all goblins. That's the story. Quite literally, this man saw in his backstory, saw his entire village being ransacked and killed by goblins, and saw his older sister being the stuff that rhymes with grape to get you even more incensed about how much you don't like goblins. The main thing is that you hate goblins, he hates goblins, go fucking kill all of them. Quite literally, his backstory is very simple, but he is a one-man killing machine when it comes to goblins. Now then, you would think that a story as simple as man, angry, goblins. Goblins are evil, man goes out to kill goblins, rinse and repeat. You would think that that would be a boring story, but sprinkled out throughout the entirety of the story itself, you get bits and pieces of the world. For instance, they don't call it like Earth or what have you. They call it the four-cornered world, as if the gods themselves are playing a board game, and that's how they view the world they are living in and the different situations that are playing out within the world, which is interesting and very cool. Sort of thinks about it in a way of if you were playing a D&D game and you have your characters believe that they are just the pieces on a game board that are going out and killing monsters for the amusement of the gods, that type of thing. And it is a very simple structure. And also the fact, like, they sprinkle a little bit in there and here and there about how the views of Goblin Slayer are sort of different than most other people. Most other people that go to adventure are adventuring to be the heroes, kill the great monster, collect all the treasure. Well, Goblin Slayer, because that is his name, he doesn't have any other names, just wants to kill goblins. And it is mostly the rest of the world around him being like, why is he only focusing on this like low-level monster? And the interesting interactions that some people have. Newer adventurers are like, he probably doesn't want to get hurt or what have you, while the older adventurers that have seen him for years have seen him be like, no, he just wants to kill goblins and we're just going to let him do that. And it's very interesting because there are different side stories that flush out the world as well as flush out a little bit of Goblin Slayer as a whole. For instance, the first side story is Goblin Slayer side story year 1, which follows him as he is going through his first year of being a Goblin Slayer. And sorry if it's thundering lightning, hopefully the power doesn't go out. It's deciding to storm here today, so hopefully it doesn't. But year 1 is his story of him finally going out and going and starting the massacre of goblins. And at the beginning, he's not really given a name, but after a while, everyone just starts calling him Goblin Slayer because that's what he does. He goes, he kills goblins, and he does it for the betterment of the world, essentially. Even though most people do not view goblins as the threat that he does, and that in itself makes me think. Because the amount of drive this man has could be considered very dedicated to the eradication of goblins. Like, it makes me think of, if he had this drive for anything else, how much would it like change? For instance, the other side story is Goblin Slayer side story 2, Daikatana, there we go. The Singing Death, which takes place before Goblin Slayer with a legendary group that is going through this dungeon to eventually clear it out. That perpetually creates more and more treasures as they get deeper and deeper down into this labyrinthian maze of dungeons. And it makes me think, what would, like, if Goblin Slayer wanted to clear this dungeon, that man would have done it pretty easily. This is a great story, by the way, and it definitely has one of the characters from later on, but a little bit younger. But still, the main thing is that it makes you think, if a dragon had attacked his town, that motherfucker would have trained for years and came out and been like, hey, I want to go kill a dragon. They're like, no, you can't. You have to do other things. And he would be like, watch me, bitch, and went out and killed all the dragons. Like, I sincerely think that if there was any other monster that had attacked him in his village and done terrible things to his family, that he would have gone on a one-man mission to eradicate all of them from existence. Like, the dedication to constantly just go out, pick only Goblin Slayer quest, fight them, get completely injured at points, been like, okay, I got 5 more quests to do before I return, and constantly being beaten down, taken in. Like, he surpasses most other, like, protagonists that I can think of in the sheer tenacity. Maybe not guts, but he's up there in the fact that the amount of focus that this one man has to kill, eradicate, murder, massacre an entire species. It is interesting and crazy. And also, every once in a while, especially in the year 1 side story, you get more of his thoughts and figuring out how he learns how to become the badass motherfucker from the like solid like first main series. There we go. And it's just fun to watch. And it definitely shows, especially in the year 1, how he got to that point, how he has learned how to make better use of his armor, make better use of what's in his environment, not be a fully attached weapon, because the weapon will degrade and break down, because, you know, they're going to be constantly cutting through goblins. Him not buying extra gear because he doesn't want goblins to get that extra gear if he dies. And oh my god, it's so interesting to figure out the thought process of how he gets there, and also like how he sort of changes the party that he's with. Because he doesn't just travel alone. No. He does for a large majority of his time being an adventurer, but eventually he does start traveling with a group. It starts with the priestess, like cleric, that he saves, because again, the quest that they have for slaughtering goblins is supposedly a entry-level quest. I don't know why. The fuckers kill everything, so why not give it a little bit higher? But they just view it as, they're just the little peons sort of deal. Think it's a stupid idea? Yeah. And as the other people join his party, the priestess of the earth god, I think, an elf archer, the dwarf like cleric, and then also the lizard man shaman, them joining the group and being like, hey, do you want to go on an adventure? And Goblin Slayer is just like, does it kill goblins? And they're like, what? No, we want to explore that, like that ruin. And he's like, are there goblins? And they're like, we don't know. I'm like, okay. And he's just like, then I don't care. And them just slowly accepting, fine, we'll just go and kill goblins. And Goblin Slayer is fine with that, because now he can kill more goblins with more people. And the slight fact of how the party sort of rounds out really well. You have the priestess that can heal and protect. You have the elf archer that can hit from range and be pretty good with the bow. You have the the dwarf cleric that can summon different rocks and use earth magic and such. And then the skeletons that the lizard man can summon are pretty interesting. And it's just like a good rounding out for the main fighter, which is Goblin Slayer, and his tenacity. Because motherfucker gets beat down a lot, but he gets back up. And also, his strategies for killing goblins are quite interesting and the like. It's just really good to see him be very tactical when you just, like, don't think of it like that, because you're just like, oh, he just kills goblins. But he has a lot of tactics and a lot of different personality. And that personality shines a little bit more in the other, like, side story type of deal. And that is Goblin Slayer, Brand New Day, which is essentially a collection of, like, little offshoot side stories that are happening throughout the story and show a little bit more of his personality here and there. You also get a little bit more during the year 1 side story, as well as throughout the main actual series. But this shows a little bit more, as well as some of the other side characters type of deal. And it is good because, sure, he really hates goblins, but he really is thinking a lot about how to kill more goblins. But also, after he gets the party, he then starts thinking about, like, okay, I guess I have to figure out how to be more sociable and understand the people in my group, and goes from there. And it shows a little bit more growth as it goes on, and it's just a really solid series that I think most people, you know, just wrote off after the first, like, couple of chapters or the first episode of the anime, because yes, it is a dark world, but it's a very interesting world. So, yeah. And yeah, that's the end of this video. If you want to hear more about Goblin Slayer or want to check it out, I highly recommend it. It's one of those series that I feel like some people just dropped because of the uber epic darkness that it was, and didn't really give it that fair of a shake. Also, if you want to play Goblin Slayer in D&D or Pathfinder, you can 100% do that. Like D&D, you'd be probably a ranger with some, maybe some levels into fighter, but definitely mostly ranger focus. Your favorite enemy being goblins, and then a few other things here and there with the hunter subclass probably, and then Pathfinder, you could probably get like a few feats here and there. Probably Fury Ranger if you are focusing on some, like, targets and the amount of times that he just easily one-shots enemies. He probably is a Fury Ranger, maybe even Precision Ranger. And yeah, it is pretty good series-wise. So if you want to check it out, go on, check it out. If there's any other manga that you want me to go into more detail for that I will be willing to, and trying not to burp, I would be willing to. And yeah, hopefully you all are staying safe out there. Hopefully you are staying dry if you are experiencing a lot of rain. But yeah, all in all, just stay safe out there, read some manga, stay cool, and yeah, that's it. Go on and slay some goblins, motherfuckers. Bye!